What are you doing? Yeah, recording. Hi. In July and August, I read total of 20 to 21 books despite my busy schedule. So I thought this is one of the biggest milestones this year across other goals that I have, and I think it would be great for me to share with you the practical tips on how did I make myself read more books in those 2 months. So without further ado, let's get to it. Simon Sinek in his book quoted that passion alone can cut it. For passion to survive, it needs structure. A why without how has little probability of success. Knowing why you want to read a book is extremely important because it's a marathon, because it's not a sprint. When you know why you want to read a book, it's going to help you and set the right tone for you when your motivation is low, and then you come back to the reason why am I doing this. It's going to bring you back to that habit, and I think that is very sustainable. Usually when it comes to fiction, my why of reading a fiction is usually for pleasure, but recently I developed an interest in understanding the character building, world building, the plot twist, this extreme plot twist that I'm interested in. Solving the problems together with the author is something that I look into and keep me continuing reading the books till the end. And when it comes to genre, it is pretty much depending on my mood. But when it comes to non-fiction is very factual, it's very data-driven or framework. I would go for non-fiction when it comes to solving the right problems for the work that I'm doing in my project management stuff, or the life situations that I'm in. And when I know why am I doing this, it helps me to narrow down the type of books that I would look for. And with that, I think when you know what is the why are you doing this, then you can develop how you're going to do it. So for me, the next one is I list down a long list of books every early of the year, deciding these are the probability of books that I'm going to read throughout this year. You know how we usually look into our phone these days? It's phone first before everything else. When you wake up in the morning, first thing that you grab, the first thing that you grab is not everything else. It's actually your phone. The first thing that you want to look into is your social media, your WhatsApp, your email, before you even wash your face and brush your teeth. There's a lot of articles out there that talks a lot about how digital devices reduces your attention span, especially social media. And with all the access to digital devices nowadays around us, the brain starts to reduce its attention span rapidly, because you keep moving from one to another. So this is quoted by William Clem, a neuroscientist professor, and this is one of the evidence that has proven what can cause you to feel even harder to read a book. Can you imagine you've spent for over the years just to look at a post or an article just within about 2-3 seconds and then move on to the next one, while right now you try to build a habit in reading a book and immersing into the same thing that sum up to 300 to 600 pages. And with that information in mind, I think you have to be very mindful now that instead of picking up your phone, maybe you can switch that habit to picking up books instead. So any possible way that I know that I would pick up my phone, I would decide to pick up a book instead. So that would help me to be more mindful and helps me to remember this habit instead of picking up phone habit. As mentioned by James Clear in his book Atomic Habit, a habit that is obvious and easy can amplify a successful outcome. Because I want to pick up a book rather than picking up a phone, I have to make it very obvious and easy for me. So there's plenty of options out there. You can just Google it, that would help us to start reading easily. If you prefer to have physical books, you can also decide to have an ebook. I prefer ebook via Kindle because Kindle is a device that is designed to be in such a way that there is no distraction. It's just you. When you click on the Kindle, you can go straight to the pages and start reading the book. When I'm out and about and it's really hard for me to look at the pages and run some errands, and I listen to audiobooks. So there's a lot of commentary out there saying that audiobook isn't really a book and listening to a book isn't really reading. So I think it's not entirely true. It's probably entirely 100% not true, because as long as you absorb into something and consuming information from the materials, you're considering yourself as reading. And if there's a book that is best consumed in audio, I would rather go for the audio instead. If it's available on Spotify, I would just go and get it from Spotify or YouTube while I'm running some errands, vacuuming, or while I'm cooking. And of course, there's nothing that can beat a physical book. So I really love physical book. There's the smell of paper, the sound of the creeps of those pages when you flip through. It really therapeutic for me. So I think there's a lot of book readers out there think the same, and if you're one of them, just decide what kind of books that is easy access to you. And if you like physical books but you worry about your costing, right? And I think there's a lot of options out there. There's a rise of second-hand bookstores these days, and it is easy access, I think almost everywhere around the world. And if you're based in KL, there are bookstores, second-hand bookshops that I usually engage to frequently. Books and Bobs, Sleepy Cats, Bookaholics Anonymous, if I get it right. And I think those are the options that you can look into if you want to make yourself feel more easier to read a book. One of the things that makes you not wanting to read a book is probably because you feel overwhelmed with the storyline. You don't enjoy the storyline. It doesn't resonate to you. You hate it so much. And probably this happens in fiction. And the frameworks that you're reading doesn't make any sense to problems that you're facing right now if it's a non-fiction. So I think those are the indications of the directions of type of book that you're looking for. And it's easy. If you have this issue, just remember, eyes on what you love. Put it down, close it, put it aside, give it away. Don't throw it. I hope you don't throw your books. And don't feel bad about it. Continue with other books that you have in the list. You might find something that you be interested on. It's good that you know now what kind of books that you don't like, because that's the only way for you to move towards what you like to read instead. And over time, you will have the types of book that you can resonate to, the types of book that you know that you will like, and it make it easier for you to plan out your reading goal. Goodreads is an online community that I go for. It connects me to millions of book summary and book readers around the world. I don't know them. It's like a Facebook for book readers. Through Goodreads, having to read the comments and review from each of the readers, and some of the authors make comments as well. It makes me feel connected and motivated to continue reading. Sometimes I get inspirations to read a book that I never read before, a genre that I never touched before, or when I lost motivations to read, I would just go through all these comments and seeing all this community who are still intrigued and excited about reading. It helps to bring back the motivation for me. If you're reading a fiction, being focused on the plot is going to help you to understand or increase the interest to stay in the book, or you can choose to focus on the characters that you like and continue to read just to find out more about this character as the story develops. The curiosity in you will make you continue flipping those pages. And if you're reading a non-fiction, knowing the takeaways usually is done at the beginning of the process is a totally different topic. Let me know if you're interested to know about this. I think knowing the takeaways that you can learn and action will help you engage with the book more. This is pretty much related to why you want to read that book. When you know what you're looking for, it will keep you engaged and immersed in that journey. I think ritual is a sacred process when you want to do something. In this case, setting up a theme to your reading is going to help with your reading mood, and your motivation is more sustainable because you get more excited when you have the ritual that you like to do. You will always want to come back to it. For example, I choose to go to a cafe if I want to read a certain kinds of fiction, or I choose the cafe that I'm going to based on the environment that I get from the books that I'm currently reading, so that I can immerse myself into the storyline even more. Or if I just want to be at home and read, usually before bed I'll just set up a candle, make my favorite beverage and sit back and read. Also, being ready with your notebook and pen if you're using analog book, or have your Notion apps open for your learning when you go through those pages and try to learn something new from it. Well, that is all the 7 practical tips that I did in those 2 months that helped me to read more books, in average of 10 books a month, in total of 20 to 21 books in those 2 months. I'm very proud of myself, and at this point of time making this video, I did a terrible job. I actually currently only reading 2 books in last month, and I'm trying to get back to it. But I hope that these practical tips, if it's going to be useful for me, it has been useful for me, I hope it's going to be useful for you too. So if you think that this is something that resonates to you, is something that you try and useful, let me know in the comment below, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.